by the beach.
Lovely to hear those waves, wasn't it? They're sort of
Maybe I might have to
the
just
sand, yeah.
get one of those apps where you just hear waves. That could help, couldn't it?
That'd be nice, wouldn't it? We should use that for 5 minutes at some point this morning, just when we need a little bit of a break. Just have the waves lapping at the sand in the Algarve.
6:52. Pubs, museums and galleries are all preparing to reopen, but one activity has not yet been given the go-ahead to restart. It's singing.
Yeah, when a number of choirs were identified as coronavirus hotspots, there's been a complete ban on communal singing. The government is now being urged to help find out if singing is any more dangerous than speaking. Our arts correspondent David Silito has this report.
More than 500,000 people worldwide have now lost their lives as a result of the coronavirus pandemic, according to Johns Hopkins.
Find out what people think about what might happen there in Leicester, where there's been a bit of a spike in cases.
25 minutes past 7. Now, we do know that today, of course, should be the start of tennis at Wimbledon.
In Leicester, where there's been a bit of a spike in cases.
25 minutes past 7. Now, we do know that today, of course, should be the start of tennis at Wimbledon. It might work going into September.
Slightly different timings today, isn't it? Because normally we'd speak to a government minister right now, but he's going to be here at 8:30 and Keir Starmer's going to be here just after that as well. And Sally's here now, and hopefully at some point you've got Judy Murray as well, Sal. She's not here in the next hour.
Stay tuned. She's coming up in just...
It might work going into September.
Slightly different timings today, isn't it? Because normally we'd speak to a government minister right now, but he's going to be here at 8:30 and Keir Starmer's going to be here just after that as well. And Sally's here now, and hopefully at some point you've got Judy Murray as well, Sal. She's not here in the next hour.
Stay tuned. She's coming up in just...
The world's biggest stars, but during lockdown he's turned his attention to some slightly different faces.
He's been focusing on the everyday heroes of the NHS in an exhibition that will be going on display all over the country, and we can have a look right now at some of the portraits.
Talking to you today, I think the picture that people will see now will mean a lot more when they have heard about the person behind that picture. And Rankin, thanks for coming on and telling us a bit about those pictures that you've taken and the idea you came up with as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Oh, that was lovely. It's 3 minutes to 8. Carol is at Wimbledon. There is no tennis, but there is Carol, and of course she's going to tell us all about the weather. Morning.
Good morning, everybody. Do you know...
It's Monday morning, it's the 29th of June, and the top story for you today. Schools in England are to receive £1 billion of funding over the next 10 years. This is part of a major building project being launched by the Prime Minister later today.
He is also announcing a further £560 million towards repairing school buildings this financial year. Unions say the money is welcome, but is only a fraction of what's actually needed. Here's our education editor, Bramwyn Jeffries. Try to put some of them to them.
I've had hundreds, particularly on education, schools and what happens in September, all sorts of things for Gavin Williamson. We'll get through those in about 25 minutes on the programme. Elsewhere today, Wales is opening all of its schools from today for the first time since the lockdown restrictions came into force back in March. Pupils...
Try to put some of them to them.
I've had hundreds, particularly on education, schools and what happens in September, all sorts of things for Gavin Williamson. We'll get through those in about 25 minutes on the programme. Elsewhere today, Wales is opening all of its schools from today for the first time since the lockdown restrictions came into force back in March. Pupils...
Time in 3 months.
It only applies to those with street access, and shoppers will also still be encouraged to maintain social distancing and to cover their faces as well. Our Scotland correspondent Lorna Gordon this morning as well. Well, there's lovely weather. It's a bit wet in Scotland at the moment, but it's not putting people off queuing up for Primark this morning.
Back there a little bit, in Wimbledon at least, a little bit later. Government officials will meet the Mayor of Leicester later this morning to discuss how to deal with a spike in coronavirus cases in the city. Yesterday,
the Home Secretary Priti Patel suggested the first local lockdown could be imposed in the city.
Our reporter Navtev Johal is there for you. How much difference is this going to make to you? A little bit of certainty.
And businesses like yourselves struggling with what's been happening over the last few months, how big a boost would this be for you and for others in that similar position?
But for example, lots of people have missed out on holidays already. Lots of people may feel concerned. So are people insured? How is it going to work?
Oh,
Interview. If, for example, you know, you'd taken a whole lot of holidaymakers to a country, suddenly there was a spark there.
On the desk behind there. Thank you very much. Now we're talking to the Education Secretary, talking about England, Gavin Williamson, in about 10 minutes' time. But school bells in Wales will be ringing for the first time since lockdown began this morning, as pupils begin to make a phased return to the classroom.
It will, though, be a very different experience for children and teachers, with measures put in place to stop the spread of coronavirus. Our Wales correspondent, Thomas Morgan, is at a primary school in
a marquee. Could be exciting, couldn't
Unless
it?
it's really cold.
Yeah, there is that. Get your big coat on, you'll be fine.
Are you going to need your big coat?
Yeah, good question.
Well, Carol's going to be able to tell us. She is at Wimbledon, which should, of course, have been starting today, but it isn't. But she's still there. Morning.
Good morning, everybody. I can tell you, you will need your coat. It is pretty